Back here again at the 2013 World Angus Forum in Rotorua, and with me is Brian Richards. Brian's a brand strategist. Welcome along, Brian.
Thank you.
Great speech there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what's your history there, Brian? You're a farmer.
Well, I was born in the King Country and I started life as an accountant, strangely, but I have built a business over the last 20, 30 years which specialises in the development of brands. So we're strategists, storytellers, writers, designers, filmmakers, that kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a particular interest in the primary sector because, I'm a farmer myself, and in the early years I developed the Savannah brand, which is an appellation system of exporters and growers. I've been involved with Zespri and with First Light and with Ovation Meats and with a whole range of the primary sector people, with a passion for repositioning product from here.
Yeah. So, Brian, what are some of your favourite topics on your presentation this morning? There was a lot to take in there.
I wanted to get across the point about selling less for more, in the sense that although meat consumption is going up globally, it's going up in developing countries with rising middle classes, and our farmers don't have the price points to match that, and I don't think they should. So I believe that the idea of repositioning Angus, both in New Zealand and globally, as a indulgence, as a top-end quality product is what I think is the main message from my presentation.
Yeah.
And I think that the critical thing to think about is that people in Western markets now are starting to think about meatless days, even though they're not vegetarian.
We don't want too many of those, do we?
Well, it's just that during recessionary times, people perhaps forego certain meal options, but then they might indulge, and that's the point about a luxury product. Angus has that potential to be a luxury product in terms of the care and attention with which it's developed and grown and processed and so on. But you've got to think that way as foodies in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
And I think the other message this morning was that there are far too many words out there called Angus, which don't necessarily mean certified quality standards.
Yeah.
So what is Angus? You know, is it a breed? Is it a meat quality? What is it, right?
Yeah.
And even in New Zealand we have Angus Pure, but we also have 5 or 6 other people using the word quite freely. It would be in everybody's best interest to actually define what Angus is, and even if they were competitors, you know, take the breed through their particular value chain and into the market to their customers with a certain storyline of quality.
Now, those people that are trying to make beef, what's going on there?
Well,
scientists.
The reality is that 9 billion people are going to live on this planet within the next 25, 30 years, right? The population is currently 6 billion. I think it's going to go to 9 billion in 40 or 50 years. We do not have enough land to currently grow enough meat to satisfy the meat consumption of that 9 billion people, if you do the numbers, right?
Yeah. So
California and Europe are looking around at how to create protein from plant material. And at this stage, they've only played around with 8% of the world's plant material. But they can give you a protein that looks exactly like chicken or exactly like meat now. It's already available. Ground beef in Trader Joe's in the States is not beef at all. It's a protein plant-produced product which emulates the quality and textures of beef, but it's not beef. I've seen there are experimental kitchens in California, which I visited, and I was astounded at just the quality of the chicken tikka, for example, which is an Indian dish, and you couldn't tell the difference between a normal chicken. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's all protein-based material from plant material. Yeah. So the world is going to have to solve this problem. The Gates Foundation, which is Bill Gates himself, the big computer man, he's putting millions into research in this topic. How are we going to feed the world with protein, which the body needs, and where's it going to come from? Because if we just keep on loading our land up with more and more animals, we know what happens then. But the idea of actually selling less for more for Angus means that if you're a breed, you want to be at the top of your category, not at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the message of my speech was today.
Yeah. How are we as branders?
I think there's a lot of brand anarchy in the sense that brands aren't about just cute logos. It's all about an association and linkage, in this case, back inside the farm gate with growers and so on. And if you look at brands like First Light that we've been involved in, it is a network of growers that are walking together through a meat exporting company and meeting restaurateurs and meeting people in their homes with a story.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part of it. And a lot of people just slap a sticker on something but don't tell a provenance story, don't link it up in any kind of networking way, and it's just literally a new suit of clothes, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same old people inside saying, buy our meat at a certain price, you know?
Now, you talked about a guy there this morning who came to you with an idea on a piece of tissue paper. Tell us a little bit about that.
15 years ago, a young student came to me at the end of a conference, much the same as today, about marketing, and his name was Jeremy Moon. He was a student, ex-Dunedin University, and he had a particular black singlet that he had made from merino, which didn't itch, right? And at that stage, merino was virtually a fibre you could give away. It wasn't doing very well. And he had this dream of making garments, etc. When he first came, he wanted to talk about hard adventure. He had pictures of all these guys climbing up and down the Southern Alps and hairy-legged blokes and all that kind of stuff. And we said to him, well, you know, why don't you think about soft adventure? Because the soft adventurers are the people with the Range Rovers who never get out of third gear and deliver children to school in our better suburbs, etc. Those are the sort of people that have got the money who want to live vicariously through the idea of adventure. So we launched the brand called Icebreaker, and the story is all about man's participation in nature and its closeness and connection to nature. And the rest is history in terms of the momentum of the company, which is now global. But it started literally with a little piece of paper, in a cafe, which is lovely story.
And now someone in your presentation too did something pretty special with the pork marketing.
Well, it's just an example of how you can not use advertising and you can celebrate meat in a certain clever way. And there is a gentleman in America, and it's Cochon is a particular brand of heritage breed pigs. And there's the Cochon banquet system that goes around America and running banquets in hotels and things all around the States, promoting these heritage breed pigs. And chefs enter and people go along and enjoy it. You pay, it's a proper paid banquet. But they literally do the big pig thing and do it so well. And the media the media reach and the numbers of, the popularity of this program is amazing. And when I think of promoting meat and promoting the taste experience and the meal moment, etc., I don't think we do enough of that. We don't. You might get a little snippet in a restaurant one afternoon by a lady who's offering you a sample, etc. But the celebration of the meat taste, the meat moment. So what I'm saying in this morning's meeting is that why can't we create a whole series of Angus moments? You know, an Angus moment which is a wonderful hamburger, or an Angus moment which is a lovely banquet, or whatever else it is. And these Angus moments are all about the taste and then the story that is in behind that taste, the commitment by the farmer and so on, is all part of that provenance story.
So where to for you now?
Well,
next step.
We've got a great interest in the primary sector. We would love to see change in the meat industry, and behaviour change is hard to achieve, but it's moving the meat industry from being process-driven to product-driven. And product-driven meaning, can we develop total beef strategies which then divide into the cuisines of the world? So instead of loading the rack of lamb or the prime cuts with maximum pricing, and then excusing the rest, which allows you to pay the farmer out at a certain price point, what efforts are being made in terms of product development to enhance the whole beast from its hide all the way through to its rear end, so to speak, and all that comes with it. And I think that there's a lot more inventiveness and food styling and food technology that can go into these things, right? And meat companies have to work harder at that space. They can't do that easily until they start making the revenues in the marketplace, but they should do it with a real long-term strategy in mind.
Now, Brian, we talked about romance this morning. We've
Yes.
got the scenery out there for it.
The thing to think about when you position a product from New Zealand is that there's a backdrop and a foreground. The backdrop is obviously the beautiful landscapes and the gorgeous rivers and lakes and all the things that we know, almost calendar pictures, right? The foreground is how we do things here, our lifestyle, the way we eat, the way we enjoy our beaches and that kind of thing, right? And so when we tell a story of New Zealand offshore, we must tell a value-added story, not a story of remoteness with nobody in the foreground. Not a story of kind of passiveness without the energy and activity that a European person may want to see. So I think that the idea of positioning our brands and telling New Zealand's story is that we've got all the backdrop to tell a foreground story well, but many of our products don't have a personality. They don't have a persona that is uniquely us. So we don't have really many ice creams, for example, that have a lovely New Zealand story.
Yeah.
We've got a word called Tip Top. We've had a brand called New American, which has got nothing to do with New Zealand.
Where'd that come from?
Well, probably I don't know where. But so, telling these stories in unique ways. And the foreground story, for example, of Icebreaker is about, born in the mountains and born in the mountains and how we live our lives as Kiwis and how we live in Central Otago, wherever it is,
Yeah.
Those are foreground contemporary stories, and they need to be part of a complete story for a brand.
Would you like to be like those guys that go into hotels and say, right, do this, get rid of that, sack her? Would you like to go and look at someone's branding, and you probably do that, do you? You just go in there and say...
We do brand audits, etc. But that's all very well to be critical, and reality TV has that flavour about it.
TV. Yeah.
The other thing is to have an idea to change it, of course. So it's all very well to be critical of things.
Yeah.
But, what is the way through to change it? And shifting attitudes inside a company, whether it's a meat company or a food company, changing the way the marketing department works or the way they think about new product development. You can tear down the walls, but that's not the answer. You've actually got to change the psyche of the people.
Yeah.
And to me, particularly in this topic we're discussing, it is about becoming foodies. And the more you eat food, the more you enjoy it, particularly in the artisan category, the more you'll understand it better as to how to convert your business or whatever. I think it would be great if we could turn farmers into a nation of foodies. All our problems would be over.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a great objective. Yeah.
So you reckon the food would have been all right if Napoleon had have taken us over?
Well, I don't think Maori would have fared as well, in the sense that...
Oh, they would have killed him.
I think that they fared much better under the British, but the food could have been better.
Yeah.
We might have had a wine industry bigger than the sheep industry.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been a bad thing, perhaps, or less of them.
Our loaves of bread might have been a bit longer too.
Could have been, yeah. But that would have been a wonderful thing to think about. But
Yeah.
there's no reason why we can't borrow from the rest of the world and have our own stories as well.
Yeah, well, we've got lots of different cuisine
We do,
over here now,
yeah.
haven't we?
And this whole kind of what people call, where you join things together and you make something new, is really what we're good at in the new world.
Yeah.
It's harder to change attitudes in the old world than it is here. But you have to have the ideas and you have to be able to join the dots.
Hard to change me. I'm a meat and 3 veg man from way back.
Yeah. You'll change. Your children might embarrass you in your old age.
Someone's trying to get me to eat rice.
That's right.
Thanks very much, Brian.